The Cartier fountain pen, the one I gave him for closing his first major deal, scratched across the acquisition papers. 10:47 a.m. Monday. The conference room at Sterling and Howard 6 months ago. Daniel sat across from me at our wedding planning meeting. Sign here, Miss Chen. The receiver's attorney, a tired man named Morrison, pushed the documents closer. And here, and initial here, Daniel's company, his pride, his weapon, all mine for $2.3 million, a fraction of what he'd spent destroying me. But let me rewind. 3 months ago, that's when he decided I needed to be taught a lesson. 3 months earlier, the smell of sawdust and fresh paint filled my flagship store. 8:15 a.m. Grand opening day for Haven Home, my furniture design company's 5th location. I'd been awake for 36 hours straight, arranging displays, checking inventory, making sure every detail was perfect. My phone buzzed. Daniel. Finally. Can't make it. Something came up. You understand. I stared at the text. Our engagement photos smiled at me from my phone's lock screen. Daniel in his Tom Ford suit. Me in vintage Chanel. Both of us golden and happy on the beach in Malibu. That was 8 weeks ago. Before his promotion to CEO of his family's commercial real estate firm. Before the business dinners and the emergency meetings and the slow, creeping distance. Miss Chen, my store manager, Patricia, touched my arm. The mayor's here. Should we start the ribbon cutting? I pasted on a smile. Let's do this. 200 people showed up. Local press, business owners, customers who'd followed me since I'd started in my garage 5 years ago, building custom pieces from reclaimed wood. Haven Home had grown slowly, carefully. 5 stores across 3 states. Revenue climbing yearly. I'd done it without investors, without loans I couldn't control. Every nail, every board, every decision mine. Daniel arrived at 9:42 a.m., just as I was finishing my speech. He walked in with her. Melissa, 24, influencer. The woman who'd been consulting on his company's marketing strategy. Sorry we're late. Daniel's kiss on my cheek was performative. Cold. Melissa wanted to see your little shop. Little shop. Haven Home's flagship was 12,000 square feet of exposed brick and soaring ceilings. The chandelier overhead, my design, was made from 500 pieces of reclaimed glass. It's quite. Melissa's lip curled. Very rustic. Daniel says you do everything yourself. How sweet. Like a hobby. My staff was watching. The press was watching. The mayor was watching. I kept smiling. Thank you for coming. That night, Daniel didn't come home to our townhouse in Riverside. He texted at 2 a.m., staying at the office. Big deal closing. I didn't sleep. I sat in our living room, furnished entirely with pieces I'd designed and built, and felt something inside me shift. The eviction notice came 4 days later. The building I'd just leased for my flagship store. The 5-year contract I'd signed 3 months ago. The landlord was terminating it. Breach of contract. Some obscure clause about structural modifications I'd allegedly violated. This is insane. I stood in my attorney's office, hands shaking. I had everything approved. Permits. Inspections. Everything. I know. Sarah Park had been my lawyer since the beginning. Now she looked grim. The building was just sold. New ownership is exercising their right to terminate commercial leases during the transition period. It's legal. Barely. But legal. Who bought it? Sarah slid a document across her desk. Hartwell Commercial Properties. Daniel's company. My blood went cold. No. I'm sorry, Naomi. The timing, it can't be coincidence. I called him 17 times. He didn't answer. Finally, at 11 p.m., a text. Business is business. You'll understand when you grow up. I was 32. I'd built a multi-million-dollar company from nothing, and he'd just blown up my flagship location out of spite. But it got worse. Over the next 6 weeks, 3 more of my leases were terminated. Different landlords. Same pattern. Buildings bought by shell companies, traced back, eventually, with Sarah's help, to Hartwell Commercial Properties. My suppliers started canceling contracts. Wood vendors I'd worked with for years suddenly had supply chain issues. My credit lines got called in. Banks that had courted me for years suddenly saw me as high risk. Someone was making calls, pulling strings, destroying my business systematically. Why? I asked Daniel when he finally agreed to meet me. Coffee shop on 5th and Main. 3 p.m. on a Thursday. He was in a suit. I was in jeans and sawdust. I'd come straight from my warehouse. You embarrassed me. He didn't look up from his phone. That grand opening, making me look like an afterthought. Melissa said you were showing off, trying to compete with me. Compete? Daniel, I was opening a store. You're in commercial real estate. We're not even in the same industry. You made more revenue last year than my entire division. His voice was flat, hateful. Do you know how that looks? My fiancé outperforming me. People were talking, asking why I needed my wife's money. I never. You made me look weak, small. So yes, Naomi, I'm teaching you a lesson about market dominance, about knowing your place. He stood. Sign the settlement. Sell me your remaining properties. I'll give you fair market value. We'll call off the engagement quietly. You can go back to your garage. He left me there, cold coffee in front of me, my world crumbling. That night, I sat in my warehouse, the only property I owned outright, and cried. Then I stopped crying, and I started planning. The bankruptcy filing for Hartwell Commercial Properties hit the business section on a Tuesday morning. I was in my warehouse, boxing up inventory, when Sarah called. Naomi, have you seen the news? I pulled up the article on my phone. The headline made my breath catch. Hartwell Commercial Properties faces receivership amid fraud allegations. What happened? Daniel happened. Sarah's voice carried grim satisfaction. Remember those shell companies he used to buy your buildings? Turns out he didn't have board approval for those acquisitions. He used company funds for personal vendettas. The board found out. The SEC is investigating. The company's in freefall. I sat down hard on a crate of drawer pulls. How bad? Catastrophic. Their stock dropped 40% in 2 days. Major clients are pulling out. The family's trying to distance themselves. Daniel's father publicly resigned. The company's going into receivership. They'll liquidate everything to pay creditors. My hands were shaking. When? Auctions in 6 weeks. But Naomi, you need to focus on your own situation. Haven Home is still, I know, for stores closed. My fifth, the warehouse, was all I had left. My staff was down to 3 people. My savings were gone. I'd sold my car, my jewelry, everything but the townhouse. And my brain, I still had that. I spent 3 days calling in every favor I'd accumulated in 10 years of business. The suppliers Daniel had pressured? I called them directly, explained what had happened. Some hung up. Others listened. He threatened to pull his contracts if we kept working with you, admitted Tom Rodriguez, who ran the largest hardwood supplier in the region. I'm sorry, Naomi. I should have told you. Tell me now, is the threat real? If he's gone, do you want our business back? Silence. Then, yeah, we do. Your designs are incredible. And you always paid on time. Daniel, he's 60 days late on a $500,000 order. I sat up straighter. He owes you money. He owes everyone money. Been floating on credit and reputation. But the reputation's shot now. I called 17 suppliers. 15 of them had the same story. Daniel had overextended. Used company credit to fund his empire building, including the spite purchases of my buildings. Sarah, I called my attorney at midnight. Can creditors bid at the receivership auction? Yes. What? How much does Daniel's company owe in total? Paper rustling. According to the filing, $47 million. My stomach dropped. I had maybe $200,000 left. And the company's assets? Real estate holdings valued at $65 million. But in a fire sale, they'll be lucky to get $30 million. It's a buyer's market right now. I did the math. Hartwell owned 17 commercial properties, including the 4 buildings he'd stolen from me. What if someone assumed the debt, bought the company itself instead of just the assets? That's unconventional, but possible. What? Because I want my buildings back, and I want him to watch me take everything he tried to destroy me with. The next 4 weeks were a blur. I called in every connection I'd ever made, every supplier, every client, every person who'd bought furniture from me in the last decade. I need investors, I told them. Not for Haven Home, for something bigger. I pitched it like this. Daniel had artificially destroyed a profitable company out of spite. Haven Home had been growing 30% year over year before he'd interfered. The market research supported expansion. The customer base was loyal. The brand was strong. But more than that, I showed them Hartwell's holdings. For properties I'd already proven I could make profitable. 13 more that were undervalued. A company with good bones that had been ruined by one man's ego. You're asking us to fund your revenge, said Margaret Liu, a real estate investor I'd met at a conference 2 years ago. I'm asking you to fund a good investment that happens to also be revenge. She laughed. How much do you need? By the time the receivership auction arrived, I had $3.20 million in committed capital. It wasn't enough to buy everything, but it might be enough to buy the company itself, debt and all, if I could convince the receiver that I had a plan to make it profitable. The auction was held in the same conference room where Daniel and I had planned our wedding. I arrived at 10:30 a.m. Conservative navy suit, borrowed from Sarah. My hair pulled back. No makeup. I looked like what I was, exhausted, determined, and done playing nice. Dana was there. Of course he was. Sitting in the back row, face haggard, expensive suit hanging loose on a frame that had lost weight. Melissa wasn't with him. He saw me. His eyes widened. What are you doing here? He stood, moved toward me. Sit down, Mr. Hartwell. The receiver's attorney, Morrison, gestured to the seats. We're beginning. The first hour was brutal. Watching vulture investors pick apart the properties. The building that housed my original flagship went for $1.8 million, highway robbery. My second location went for $950,000. Daniel's face got paler with each sale. Then Morrison paused. We have one unusual bid. An offer to purchase Hartwell commercial properties as a whole, assuming all debts and all assets. The bidder is willing to pay $2.3 million in cash, assume $47 million in debt, and has provided a detailed restructuring plan. The room went silent. The bidder is Ms. Naomi Chen of Haven Home Designs. Daniel shot to his feet. No, she can't. Mr. Hartwell, you have no standing here. You were removed from the board. You have no ownership stake. Morrison looked at me. Ms. Chen, please present your plan. I stood, walked to the front, laid out my vision. Hartwell would become a subsidiary of a new holding company. The properties would be leased to Haven Home at fair market rates, making both companies profitable. The remaining properties would be repositioned for small businesses, the kind Daniel had tried to squeeze out. I had letters of intent from 17 potential tenants. The debt is substantial, I concluded, but it's manageable with proper revenue. Hartwell failed because it was weaponized for personal vendettas. Under new management, focused on actual business strategy, it can thrive. Morrison looked at the other bidders. Any counteroffers? Silence. Then I'm awarding Hartwell commercial properties to Ms. Naomi Chen. Pending final approval, the sale will close in 30 days. Daniel followed me into the parking garage. His footsteps echoed off concrete, desperate and quick. Naomi, please. We need to talk. I kept walking. My borrowed heels clicked against the ground, steady, unhurried. You can't do this. That company is my family's legacy. My grandfather built it from nothing. I stopped, turned. And you destroyed it from spite. Don't talk to me about legacy, Daniel. His face crumpled. I made a mistake. I was insecure, jealous. Melissa kept saying you were trying to humiliate me, that you were. Where is Melissa now? He flinched. Gone. She left when the money dried up. Shocking. I adjusted my purse strap. You tried to bankrupt me because your ego couldn't handle me being successful. You turned suppliers against me, destroyed 4 stores, put 17 people out of work. And for what? To prove you were bigger than me. I'm sorry. Tears tracked down his face. I'll do anything. I'll work for you. I'll help rebuild. Just don't take everything. You already took everything, Daniel. From me. You just didn't count on me building it back. I walked to my car, Sarah's car, technically, since I'd sold mine months ago. But in 30 days, I'd have 17 properties. In 30 days, I'd own the company that tried to destroy me. Daniel called after me. I loved you. I paused, hand on the car door. No, you loved the idea of me. The quiet girlfriend who made you look good, who built pretty furniture and stayed small. The moment I became successful enough to threaten you, that love evaporated. That's not true. You know what the saddest part is? I met his eyes. I would have helped you. If you'd come to me and said you were struggling, that you felt overshadowed, I would have worked with you, partnered with you. We could have built something together. We still can. No, we can't. Because I don't trust you. And I don't love you anymore. The words felt clean leaving my mouth. True. You killed that when you chose to destroy me instead of building with me. I got in the car, drove away, left him standing in the parking garage, exactly as broken as he'd tried to make me. The sale closed 28 days later. I stood in Hartwell's headquarters, now my headquarters, and addressed the remaining staff. 37 people who'd survived the layoffs, The scandal, the collapse. I know you're scared, I told them. You're wondering if I'm here for revenge. If I'm going to gut this company the way it tried to gut mine. Nervous faces stared back. I'm not. This company made mistakes under its previous leadership. But you didn't make those mistakes. You were just trying to do your jobs. I pulled up my presentation. Here's the plan. Hartwell becomes a property management company focused on small business sustainability. We offer flexible leases, mentorship programs, and community investment. We make money by keeping our tenants successful, not by squeezing them dry. Haven Home will lease 4 properties at market rate. No special treatment. The remaining 13 properties are already 50% leased to verified tenants. We're cash flow positive as of next quarter. A hand raised. James Park, who'd been with Hartwell for 15 years. What about Daniel's debts? The personal guarantees. Being restructured. We're negotiating payment plans with creditors. It'll take 7 years to clear completely, but it's manageable. I looked around the room. This company isn't dead. It was just sick. We're going to heal it. 6 months after the acquisition, Haven Home reopened all 5 locations. The flagship store, in the building Daniel had tried to evict me from, had a grand reopening on a Saturday in June. My mother flew in from Seattle. My brother drove up from San Diego. Sarah came with her wife and kids. You did it, Mom said, hugging me tight. You actually did it. Almost lost everything doing it. I looked around at the crowd. Customers. Press. Suppliers who'd stood by me. But yeah, I did it. The Hartwell properties were thriving. 12 of the 13 were fully leased. Small businesses, a bakery, a bookstore, a yoga studio, a coffee roaster, filled spaces that had sat empty under Daniel's predatory pricing. I'd started a small business grant program, funded by Hartwell's profits. Helped entrepreneurs who looked like me 6 years ago. Talented, ambitious, terrified. Daniel had tried to contact me 3 times. Letters sent to my office. I returned them unopened. He'd taken a job in Phoenix, someone told me. Middle management at a property firm. Rebuilding from the bottom. Good. He'd learn what I learned. Rock bottom teaches you who you really are. 1 year after the acquisition, I was working late in my office when security called up. Ms. Chen, there's a delivery. A box arrived. No return address. Inside, the Cartier pen I'd given Daniel. And a note in his handwriting. You were right. I love the idea of you, not the reality. The reality was always more than I deserved. I'm sorry I couldn't see it. I held the pen. Remembered giving it to him. So proud of his success. Remembered when his success felt like our success. That version of us was gone. Maybe it had never really existed. I put the pen in my desk drawer. Not thrown away. Not displayed. Just acknowledged. Then I returned to work. There was a new property to evaluate. A tenant having cash flow issues who needed support. A staff meeting in the morning. I'd built an empire from the ashes of my old life. Not through spite, though spite had been the fuel at first. Through strategy. Through persistence. Through refusing to let someone else's cruelty define my worth. Daniel tried to teach me a lesson about knowing my place. Instead, he taught me that my place was wherever I decided to build it. And what I built wasn't just a company. It was proof that being underestimated is only permanent if you believe it. I was never small. I was never weak. I was never less than. I was just waiting for someone to try to break me so I could show them exactly how strong I'd always been. The quiet woman building furniture in her garage was never just building furniture. She was building an empire. She just didn't need to announce it until someone tried to take it away.